So I swear I didn't consciously arrange things this way, but our next reader is the third of the first three people that I met here. It just sort of happened, and then when I saw it, I went with it. My mom doesn't remember you or Sean, so don't worry.
Okay.
It's fine. In August of 2013, our penultimate reader packed his life into a little two-door car and, having turned down a fully funded MFA elsewhere, made the long trek from Kansas to find his way here. Since then, he's attended AWP, ventured off to Reno with two poets and a Big Daddy, and had a life-changing solo adventure in the Galapagos Islands. He maybe regretted his life choices a time or two, but he stuck it out, and we are so very glad he did. He's been a source of good humor and support to each and every one of us, as assistant to the MFA coordinator, but more importantly, as our friend. Please welcome Brett.
How's everybody doing? Are you doing okay? I know we started early, which was my idea. So if you don't like it, just blame me. I'm sorry. It was a shitty idea. I'm sorry about it. Most of my ideas are bad ideas. So, okay. So, sorry, I'm experiencing a lot of anxiety right now because I came here today not knowing if I was going to read fiction or poetry. I came here for poetry, and I love poetry so much. It's so dear to me. But lately, in the past few months, I've been so drawn to fiction. And so something bad happened back there. I'm sorry about it. It was probably my fault, too. I'm sorry. Everything is my fault. I'm the coordinator of the program, so everything is, by default, my fault. So I'm sorry.
Understood.
You know, because next year it's going to be your fault. So, okay, sorry. I know I should read. You've been sitting here for a long time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read something here. I wanted to comment on one of the readers, Mr. Leonard. You mentioned how somebody here who hosted a Neon Lit said that you like to make kisses with people.
Yes, he does.
He does. And he said that Brett hosted that reading, but you were wrong. Somebody by the name of Hialeah hosted that reading. For those of you who don't know, Hialeah is the persona that I sometimes perform as. And she's a woman, and she's a badass, and you all know. That's good. That's good that you all know. But lately I've been writing fiction about her. It's driven by her. So I wanted to read just a few pages, and I'm gonna keep track of time. I didn't really plan on doing this, so I'm just gonna read for a few minutes about the Hialeah pieces that I've written, and they're basically about what I'm gonna read is about how she arrived at Vegas. So. It was something like 1,300 miles. Nothing too outlandish or unheard of, but yet she ended up nowhere. She blew in on the tail end of a quiet, dark, deprecating wind. She hadn't slept in days. She also hadn't slept in years. Never had, really. The condition of which never surprised her. She assumed that no one slept, until the man that picked her up drifted off somewhere around Denver. So she walked here on her bare feet. Due to the wind, she was caked in dirt at every crevice, her blouse soiled with cacti needles and desert sage sprigs. Resting behind her ear was a bundle of lavender and rosemary. She thought she smelled like a meadow. She stood in the doorway. The meadow of her stretched through the open walkways. The nearest bar came into vision. "May I have a drink?" The bartender's nose sieved. "Baby, could you freshen up in your room before you come down this way? I know we ain't the Mirage, but we ain't little darlings either."
For sure.
"I would just like a drink." She ruffled her long curls and pomegranate leaves fell out. She was served a gin with lime, lemon, and bitters. "What's your room number, sweetie?" She wasn't sure how to respond. "I don't need one," she told her. "I'm just passing through." "You and the buffalo," she scoffed. She gestured to a woman in a sequin vest who also wore shoes patterned in reflective piano key. She sat, mostly stationary, her movements in tune with the quirks of her slot machine. Her hair was curled and frazzled, in this exact hue of gray that reminded her of moonstone. She imagined her eyes were mesmerized. The buffalo? The buffalo. The buffalo put in coin after coin in her slot machine. The concierge knew to tell whomever was necessary never to move that machine. The buffalo, chest deep in bush light, called that her home, even though all she ever won was a few quarters back for her meat purse. She reached in and it never ended, and she never ate apart from the perfume-laced casino air. Even the machine took its vodka on the rocks to keep up with her. She yelled from her perch, "Did y'all change my machine? I'm off by a dime and a penny and a buffalo nickel." "No, ma'am," the bartender rolled her eyes. Hialeah remained perplexed by the whole thing, her mind usually absconding with the wind. But when she got here, the wind had queerly stopped, and all she could hear were the slots and the video poker machines, and the businessmen raising their shots for a toast, and the hurried, frenetic pacing of the cocktail waitresses. It became overwhelming. This felt like no place and every place all at once, a watershed without water. A shade cover of layered time with entrance doors showered in flashing LED bulbs. It all repeated itself. Somehow the perfume was both stale and invigorating. She forgot where she had been walking to, if she had a destination in mind at all. She scratched her head, and out came more leaves. "Honey, you look confused." Hialeah paused for a moment, adjusting her padding below the bar line. The wind stopped so suddenly. The bartender poured drinks for no one in particular. "Welcome to the desert." That was one of our storms, as much as we can call them one. They ride in like twisters, but all bark and no bite, blowing around tourists in plastic bags like it's all some game. But here it's a meat-headed thing, an ornery troll. There are days when she's absent, and others when she slings in from Utah, kicking up dust devils, packing in trash from the Midwest, and carrying it all out to LA, where all the trash ends up. See, if we didn't have the wind, we'd all be desperate for some reprieve from the sun, which is out to accomplish one task: suffocate. But we couldn't live without the sun. "And I await the day," she paused, a line of 10 or 15 drinks ready as bullets. "My history here is all about getting stuck. And trust me, sweetie, this is not a place you want to get stuck." She ordered another drink. She approached the buffalo with a nervous stomach and tongue. "They moved my fucking machine," she said. She lit a cigarette with the entrails of another. She waved her cigarette in the air, and ashes fell to the floor, onto a pile of ash and wetness that was really rings from old drinks. There was no telling how long she had been there. The concierge didn't know, the bartender didn't know, and the casino didn't know either, having ignored her in hopes that she'd disappear. But now she was essential to its foundation, an historic building the casino wanted to implode, a literal manifestation of institutional memory. "Pull the lever." She threw a quarter at Hialeah. It bounced on the floor, tails up. She picked it up, and it somehow felt natural putting it into the slit, then pulling the smooth lever, then watching the animals and digits turn. There aren't any other casinos with machines like this anymore. Can you believe it? The tragedy? "I'm not budging an inch," the buffalo said. The machine swam longer than she expected. It circled and spun quicker and slowed, and she was wrapped. The attendant poured more vodka into the machine. Its stomach growled warmly. The machine celebrated by playing a reverie, followed by a bolero. Neon pulsated around the sides of the cabinet. Quarters began to fall from the machine, shoot, endless in a strange, easy, exhilarating way. They say it's luck, I say it's skill, more quarters. How do you decide when to quit, she said. The buffalo said, why don't you sleep? Isn't it obvious? If you don't win, you'll end up like the others in this godforsaken alluvial plain. You think you don't belong here? You can belong anywhere and allwheres. But here you are. This is your home. She felt up for grabs. No one seemed to notice this commotion. As a matter of rule, commotion was the actual, and their slot machine part of the actualized. Stepping back from the mound of quarters that wouldn't greeting her, she was taken. It was an invisible, ineffable pull. Nothing made sense, and as she realized, she never had either. The bartender laughed. You need that room now? She wished she had been taught how to answer, but no one had ever taken the moment to teach her much of anything. That emptiness lay there in her memory, a welt of the past, an obstructive fist that conducted as a blood clot. And so she couldn't conceivably know what exactly was missing. That prehistoric knowledge was inside of her DNA, but it was buried too deep. It may be retrievable here, though, and she was feeling that pull electrically. Baby, how are you feeling? Hylia took a moment. No one's ever asked me that before, she told her. Nobody, nowhere. Child, she paused, the bartender. This is a tale of how you end up nowhere. Thank you.